Let's talk about mind control, patsies and crisis actors, Daniel Linden, Bill Ackman, Miriam Adelson, threats to our republic, and pushes for the end of constitutional protections in service to war profiteers and tech criminals working to invalidate the Bill of Rights. Charlie Kirk's death is creating conditions for censorship as part of the Heritage Foundation's Project Esther Trump admin shills shouting for censorship, surveillance, checkpoints, weaponized federal agencies. Zionist oligarchs alarm the public is turning against them. Lobbyist traitors ringing everywhere, snapping their puppets in government to attention. The new anti-Semitism is talking about war profiteers and quoting Likud ghouls on record about killing children for years. Now they are gaslighting about direct quotes. Wild stories about embassy shooters and dead Mossad agents in D.C., reframed as an attack on Jews, not assets of a dangerous and violent government that has killed hundreds of Americans. There is a cabal of billionaires working to destroy the Bill of Rights, ushering in an era of rigged elections, puppets like J.D. Vance, formerly known as David Bowman. Zionist spies in office pushing for laws that read like the Epstein Class Protection Act pushed by Misgav Institute, Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security, Washington Institute for Near East Policy, Begin Sadat Center for Strategic Studies pushed by the Trump puppet regime, pimped by billionaire donors who were threatening Charlie Kirk until he became more useful dead than alive. Assassination of the Zionist insect is nothing new. The word for murderer in Spanish is sicario, linking modern hitmen to ancient zealots who stabbed babies in the time of Jesus. These laws? They're supposed to protect certain groups, but some say they're just another layer of censorship, designed to shield the powerful from criticism. Who benefits most from that? The same elites who always seem to slip through the cracks. Think Epstein co-conspirators in AIPAC, Hollywood, Wall Street, and the war-for-profit industry. Think those shadowy networks that never make it to court? Dual nationality ensures the Bohemian Grove Zionists will be back to the altar of Moloch as soon as the unrest they orchestrate leads to dead robber barons and our kids gunned down in the street by weaponized federal agencies. But here's where it gets even stranger. Spying on Americans, harassing victims of sexual abuse, gang stalking, private surveillance firms linked to Mossad, Unit 8200 and Shin Bet on American soil. There are actual reports linking big names like Pornhub, the JDL, Seinfeld and Mossad teams targeting Americans to political violence on college campuses. I'm talking about the Shirion Collective, a Mossad cutout, funneling money to campus lynch mobs. One of the worst things in the world is slime involved in human trafficking and sex abuse of girls has set his sights on attacking students and free speech. Sounds insane, right? Like Canary Mission and other groups exposed in the Lobby USA, there are open spy rings on US soil. Black Cube and other cutouts of foreign spy agencies are walking among aliens injecting penises against children, as the acronym for Epstein-linked AI PAC goes. But some of the violence at UCLA, beatings, chemical agents, explosives, was engineered by intelligence agencies. Remember Black Cube targeting the victims of Harvey Weinstein? Harvard censorship tied to the same billionaires threatening Charlie Kirk. Columbia and other schools facing state violence from the Israel lobby. Columbia. No money for reparations, repairing Flint, or addressing veterans sick from Agent Orange depleted uranium and white phosphorus, but they are paying cribly Zionists who felt uncomfortable with freedom of speech and basic empathy of student protesters. It's been tied back to one of Pornhub's own founders. Daniel Linden is creating Shirion Collective Project Maccabee that targets Americans with malicious AI and forms the basis for Trump's secret police raids, directly violating constitutional rights. And if that's not wild enough, there are claims about porno hypnosis videos, literally brainwashing viewers, creating a pipeline for socially insular Call of Duty commandos to become programmed assassins or patsies on display with the alleged shooter of Charlie Kirk, prepping them to become mind-controlled victims who act out and have no memory of being part of an assassination, all to distract from possible Mossad shooter teams operating in plain sight. Think about it. The patsy in the spotlight, programmed to be in a certain place, with a certain background to carry off a false flag shooting. The crisis actors celebrating, this looks like what Alex Jones was alleging about Sandy Hook, engineered violence to take our rights and force us further into an unconstitutional police state. Remember the strange occurrences in the Kennedy shootings? Sirhan, Oswald ties to CIA and time in Cuba trying to play the role of a communist while pocketing money from Project 40, the weird-acting hobos and the mysterious hat lady during the JFK assassination. Hillary laughed about it, calling it an intervention. By who? war profiteers who wanted World War III with USSR, history repeating itself, just with new faces and even stranger methods. We are facing a point of no return with the mechanized death machines our government is waiting to roll out. AI kill lists on Skynet assassination drones, already used for a decade in Iraq, Yemen, Somalia, Sudan, Syria. And while all this chaos unfolds, Israeli spies are reportedly hanging out in Tarzana, Florida, Beverly Hills, not even pretending to hide. Buying up vast regions of Cyprus and Argentina to train more spies, setting up Nazi rat lines to funnel dirty money into real estate, pushing out locals. No fear of the Constitution, no fear of consequences. War profiteers sitting around laughing about crimes against children in Gaza, paralyzing and burning innocent civilians, murdering doctors and journalists, crybullies who exist in wealth and influence as parasites on the neck of the taxpayer. Every day, working to bend the rules, break the laws, and keep the truth buried. Sharing Telegram snuff channels while encouraging the next generation of high school kids to fantasize about rape, torture while crying about anti-Semitism. Here's the real kicker, like with 9/11s, our own government seems totally compromised. Lobbyists, think tanks, foreign billionaires pushing Israeli agendas is the greatest threat to democracy we have ever seen. Pro-Israel billionaires have compromised the people who are supposed to protect us. They're too busy protecting the bad actors. Wall Street and Tel Aviv goons are being shielded from criticism of cover-ups associated with the Epstein lobby. So what do? A peaceful solution seems far off. Is there a way to root out a predatory class of financial sharks who own Congress, media, banks, federal agencies, and have their assets running the CIA, Justice Department, ICE, DHS, etc.? Questioning the regime is becoming a fatal crime as shown with Charlie Kirk. Israel wants you to know it was them while outwardly denying it, like their nuclear program. They want you to think it's always Mossad, except when it's the Epstein child abuse ring. We refuse to let the distractions work. The only way forward is the pro-Israel oligarchs pushing for unconstitutional laws, surveillance networks, hosting foreign spies in tech, and openly weaponizing federal agencies against the people must be sacrificed. The truth is out there, if you're willing to look past the noise. The lockdown generation, Gen X, even the boomers want revolution. How many innocent political prisoners waited 50+ years for justice and freedom? Leonard Peltier is one man. We still have to free Mumia, exonerate Assata Shakur, and mourn Mutulu. New World Order took Tupac, ODB, and many others, according to John Potash. We have to break the chains of the Zionist death cult and military-industrial complex before the next lockdown comes to protect a draft in World War III. Stay woke. They killed how many of our rock stars and revolutionaries? It's time the other side incurs damage for their crimes against humanity. Read John Mearsheimer, Miko Peled, Norman Finkelstein, Max Blumenthal, Abby Martin, Chris Hedges, Lee Camp. The connections run deeper than most people realize. Jewish charities funding the demolition of Christian sites, mass murder of Muslims, maimed children, propagandists who cover for IDF snipers and pilots who take great joy in war crimes. Every campus incident, every financial transfer, every communication, it's all connected. The Zionist death cult is more dangerous as it's exposed every quote of the Talmud and its impact on racist Israeli laws, lobbyists in the USA, and evil plans of billionaires creates a climate where innocents are targeted. The tech giants aren't just platforms, they're participants in the control system. Across the Middle East, murders and massacres took place on behalf of Palantir, Facebook, X, and lesser-known Israeli security firms involved in smuggling ISIS oil and staging coups. Follow the money and you'll find the real puppet masters. Jinsa, Penak, Inis, FDD, look up these think tanks and their links to dirty wars, atrocities, unconstitutional laws, and death squads. This isn't the first time we've seen these tactics. The playbook is old, but the technology is new. School of the Americas death squads created the climate for Trump's torture sites in El Salvador. The Syrian death squads that became ISIS used to have the classification the Salvador option during Obama regime. MKUltra, Operation 40, Project Mockingbird, Phoenix program. The programs never ended, they just evolved as exposed by Whitney Webb, John Potash, Christopher Ballin, Cleve Ahava. When you control the narrative, you control reality itself. Techies push out blue-collar families to make room for more Israeli spies, Hindu scammers, and Chinese billionaires, making homeownership impossible except for a selected class with offshore loyalties. This network spans continents. What we're seeing in America is just one piece of a global operation. A global police state run by the pedophile elite secret societies and targeting the children of the world for fates far worse than you can imagine. The diplomatic immunity, the protected status, it all makes sense when you see the bigger picture. IDF human rights abusers come here to spy on Americans, act as censors to protect organ theft rings, organize child abuse and Shin Bet snuff rings. Our universities have become battlegrounds because that's where the next generation's minds are shaped. As those we want peace and freedom are tear-gassed and beaten, those social parasites of the Epstein class breeze through life on the taxpayer dime. There might be hope, but the evil oligarchs have sinister plans for weaponized social credit scores to starve the friends and families of dissidents, promoting an informant culture like we saw after 9/11. Independent voices are rising, asking the questions mainstream media won't ask. People are waking up, connecting the dots, refusing to be silenced. As the Zuckerbergs and Musks of the world try to rebrand as quirky heroes, we remember their part in murdering civilians in Gaza, of silencing the youth of Egypt and controlling narratives to engineer regime change atrocities. When we come together, when we share information freely, their power begins to crumble. The oligarchs, lobbyists, think tanks are not so secret, but they won't go out quietly. They have vast private armies, security firms and paid-off cops protecting the billionaire pedophiles and election-rigging techie turncoats. The truth wants to be free. But like the Constitution, the tyrants we must guard against aren't always who we suspect. They may be likable, can fund propaganda and TV shows to set your beliefs in line with their backwards worldview. And when enough people see it, when enough people understand what's really happening, we are being eaten alive by a parasitic insect deeper than Wall Street, Hollywood, and the military-industrial complex. A transnational cabal of dirty war and murder. That's when real change becomes possible. Stay vigilant. Stay informed. The future depends on it. Learn to quote the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence. Read the Federalist Papers and censored authors like Christopher Bolin, John Potash, William Bloom.